Happy New Year, everyone. As you can see, I'm out of the office today and still traveling, but the show must go on. So in this video, I'm going to be revealing 9 wines that I'm buying for my own collection in 2025. Wouldn't it be nice if you were able to purchase one of the very best wines in all of Saint-Emilion on Bordeaux's right bank for between $150 and $240, depending on the vintage? With wines like Cheval Blanc, Ozone, and Chateau Angelus selling for between $400 and $700 per bottle, that may seem like it's beyond reach and not realistic. However, one of my biggest discoveries from my trip to Bordeaux will give you that very opportunity. The first wine that I'm buying for my own collection in 2025 comes from a producer that I visited during my recent trip to Bordeaux, and this was a bit of a revelation of sorts. I'd had a couple of wines from this producer in the past and was extremely impressed, but I definitely wanted to learn more. This is a producer that was founded back in the 14th century and had historically been one of the more revered estates on Bordeaux's right bank. However, it was a bit of a reverse alchemist, turning gold into dross and producing wine that was not nearly up to the level of quality that you'd expect for a producer that had a number of vineyard sources right on the limestone plateau next to Ozone and very close to Cheval Blanc. Fortunately, however, Christian Moex and his family acquired this producer in 2008. You're definitely familiar with some of the other Moex family wines, as they also own Petrus, Les Fleurs Petrus, Trotanois, and Dominus Estate in Napa Valley. So they certainly know what they're doing. The Moex family immediately got down to work and began to improve the wines dramatically, even in the first vintage that they produced in 2008. Among other things, they started harvesting later and using a much more stringent selection. Later, they began replanting the vineyards, and they also recently completed a state-of-the-art winery. The result is some wines that certainly rival the quality of some of its bigger name brethren that sell with much larger price points. For that reason, I'm definitely a buyer of Chateau Belair-Monange in 2025. If you're looking for vintage recommendations, you can definitely buy any vintage since 2008, and they'll be pretty good quality. However, the quality keeps improving each and every vintage, and some of the more recent vintages are definitely some of the best. I'm particularly excited about 2018, 19, and 20. In fact, I tasted the 2018 vintage at the James Suckling event last June and was extremely impressed. And at the winery, I tasted the 2020, and despite its youth, it was absolutely exceptional, with layered flavors of blackcurrant and plum, and also some intriguing floral notes. This wine had silky texture and a very, very long finish. It was already extremely enjoyable despite its youth. 2021 will be a bit of a down vintage, but still one that's well worth considering, and it will be a little bit lower priced as well. Even if you don't seek out and stock up on back vintages, I would absolutely be a buyer of this wine going forward, at least beginning with the 2022 vintage, as quality for this wine will only continue to head north as these replanted vines gain some additional age and the winemaking team further refines their blend. They're currently shooting for around 98% Merlot and 2% Cabernet Franc. This is a wine that I fully expect within 8 to 10 years will be certainly one that's discussed routinely as being at the same quality level as Cheval Blanc, Angelus, and Ozone, and one that will sell for much closer to their price points as well. So you definitely want to load up on it while you can, and while this wine sells for between $150 and $240 per bottle, depending on vintage. I'm a huge fan of Super Tuscan wines, particularly the very strong 2021 vintage, which is on store shelves now. Unfortunately, however, prices have been rising quite dramatically, and this even applies to some second wines from top producers that are getting to be a bit out of hand, in my opinion. Fortunately, however, we always have alternatives, and this next wine is an outstanding Super Tuscan wine that sells for only around $30 per bottle. Better still, those of you looking for recommendations for wines that you can enjoy immediately will enjoy this wine, as it was intended to be enjoyed young but it's certainly capable of aging for a while as well. The impressive 2021 Castello de Bolgheri Varvara was named after the great-grandmother of the current owner. This is a blend that consists of 55% Cabernet Sauvignon, 28% Merlot, 12% Cabernet Franc, and 5% Petit Verdot. This is a rich, full-bodied wine with lush black fruit, licorice, leather, menthol, and mixed spice. It's a seamless wine with refined tannins. You really can't go wrong with this one, particularly given the very attractive $30 price point. Bodega Muga is a family-owned, quality-minded producer in Rioja, Spain, that focuses on traditional winemaking principles, yet embraces modern technology to help produce its outstanding wines. On this channel, I oftentimes focus on big themes based on strength of vintages in particular regions. And so it is with the 2019 Bodega Muga Seleccion Especial Reserva Rioja. 2019 was a phenomenal vintage in Rioja, arguably one of the best in the last 20 years. And so you'll definitely want to consider this outstanding wine, which was highly acclaimed, yet sells for only around $50 per bottle. Seleccion Especial is not produced every year. Rather, it's only produced in great vintages, such as 2019. When it is produced, it's based on an extremely strict selection of fruit from some of the family's best vineyards that are planted on hillsides and high elevation sites with very, very poor soils. The result is extremely low yields and some intensely concentrated, impressive fruit. This wine is Tempranillo dominant, but it also includes some Garnacha, Mossuelo, and Graciano. The 2019 Seleccion Especial is a powerful wine, and it's one that will definitely show its best only after some additional aging. If you buy multiple bottles, you can definitely enjoy one young in a pinch, but you'll definitely want to give it a long decant and enjoy it with food, such as lamb or red meat. While Châteauneuf-du-Pape is often a blend that consists of up to 13 different permitted varietals, and typically includes at least Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvèdre, it is not required to be a blend. In fact, there are many excellent monovarietal wines being produced in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And one of them is the next wine that I'm buying in 2025 from my own cellar, namely the 2022 Domaine de Chevalier Chaupin. Chaupin is 100% Grenache. This is a wine that first started back in 1990 when the United States importer tasted a sample of the fruit from the Chaupin Ludi, which was 100% Grenache. He was so impressed with this wine that he recommended that Janasse bottle it as a separate bottling. Since that time, Janasse has refined its blend and now also includes fruit sources from sandy soils in La Janasse, as well as some incredibly high-quality fruit from the famous Le Creux Plateau. These impressive fruit sources have vines that average more than 100 years. You can expect flavors and aromas of raspberry, cherry, licorice, floral notes, spice, and garrigue. This is a wine you can enjoy young, but it will certainly cruise in your cellar for up to 12 to 15 years or so. 2022 was not considered to be an exceptional vintage in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. However, I've found that I tend to enjoy wines that come from the cooler vintages in Châteauneuf, as they have a bit more elegance and freshness, and they don't tend to develop those pruny characteristics from some of the hotter vintages. In addition, the 2022 Chaupin is certainly highly acclaimed, and critics have identified this as being perhaps one of the very strongest vintages of Chaupin that has ever been produced. So certainly if you're a fan of Châteauneuf-du-Pape or Janasse, this is a wine you'll definitely want to include in your cellar. This is a wine that sells in the United States for around $69 per bottle, and you could definitely get it in Europe for less than that. The next wine I'm buying in 2025 comes from Viña Vic, namely the Milla Cala. The 2021 Milla Cala received an impressive 94-point score from Wine Spectator and was included as the number 36 wine in Wine Spectator's Top 100. Viña Vic is located in the Chateau Valley, which is very close to Colchagua, but yet Viña Vic has a bit of a cooler microclimate and typically averages 2 degrees less Celsius in the summertime due to the fact that there's a gap in the mountains that allows cool coastal breezes to flow through to the Vic vineyards in the afternoon. The result is some wines with some impressive elegance and freshness. Christian Vallejo is the winemaker for Viña Vic, and he does an exceptional job, especially with tannin management. Christian learned how to make wine from some of the top producers in Bordeaux, including Chateau Margaux, and he certainly emphasizes elegance and refinement when he's producing his own wines for Viña Vic. Cala is a wine that offers tremendous quality for its very reasonable $50 price point, and if you shop around, you can usually find it for as little as $40 per bottle. This is a red blend that's Cabernet Sauvignon dominant, but also includes Cabernet Franc, Carmenere, Merlot, and Syrah. This is one you can enjoy immediately, but it also ages extremely well, and you can certainly keep it for 8 to 10 years with no problem. I recently enjoyed the 2015 vintage, and it was showing quite well. I also got a sneak preview on the 2022 vintage, which won't be released until next year, but which is coming along extremely nicely, and I expect will also be highly acclaimed, much like the 2021 vintage. This is wine that has mixed red and black fruit with some spicy herbaceous notes, as well as some silky polished tannins. It's an extremely enjoyable wine, and one you can enjoy either with food or just on its own. When I'm buying wines for my personal collection, in addition to looking for wines from strong vintages in certain regions, I also place great weight on the reputation and quality of the producer. And so this next wine that I'm buying in 2025 satisfies both of these criteria, namely the 2023 Weingut Donhoff Niederhauser Klamm Cabinet Riesling, which sells for an incredibly reasonable $30 per bottle, yet received tremendous critical acclaim. 2023 was an exceptionally strong vintage generally in Germany, particularly for Riesling, and so this is definitely going to be something that I emphasize in 2025. And of course, Donhoff is a legendary producer from the Nahe region in Germany, and certainly one that's a go-to for me personally. The vineyards that produce the fruit for this wine have southeast-facing exposure, so the fruit tends to get quite ripe, and as such, there's a little bit of a darker fruit profile for this wine. You can expect flavors and aromas of peach and lemon, with incredibly abundant acidity and a zesty, refreshing finish. Really a very enjoyable wine and an exceptional value for less than $30 per bottle. If you're interested in wine recommendations, wine collecting strategies, and learning more about wine, please do subscribe to my channel. I've been collecting wine for more than 15 years and also have a level 4 diploma from the WSET. So I have both formal certification as well as substantial practical knowledge from the School of Hard Knocks. One of the complaints that I hear most frequently from people who enjoy Napa Valley wines is that they're not able to find high-quality Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon for a reasonable price point. So whenever I'm able to identify a good value from Napa Valley, I'm always excited to share that wine here. So the next wine that I'm buying in 2025 is the 2021 Blankiet Estate Prince of Music. Blankiet Estate is a high-quality producer in Napa Valley that's located in Yountville. Its vineyards are located in a very prestigious area, very close to Oakville, and its neighbor is none other than Dominus Estate. Better still, the winemaker for Blankiet Estate is Graham McDonald, who, along with his brother Alex, runs McDonald Vineyards, which makes one of the most coveted collectible wines in all of Napa Valley. While the McDonald wine is very, very difficult to locate, this Blankiet Estate wine sells for an extraordinarily reasonable $78 per bottle, yet received a 94-point score from Jeb Dunnick. This is the entry-level wine for Blankiet Estate, and it's a proprietary blend that typically includes Cabernet Sauvignon, along with Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, and some Merlot. 2021 was a very strong vintage for Napa Valley, so this particular bottling is definitely worth keeping an eye out for, at least for the 2021 vintage, and likely for the 2023 vintage as well. This is a full-bodied wine with round tannins and flavors and aromas that include blackcurrant, cherry, iron, tobacco, mixed spice, and chocolate. You can enjoy this wine immediately, but there's no rush as it will also age 6 to 8 years with no problem whatsoever. Founded back in 1893, Terlano is a quality-minded cooperative that's located in Italy's Alto Adige region. This is a cooperative that has 140 members that control 190 hectares of vines. All 1.5 million bottles that they produce annually are of DOC quality. I've recommended a number of the Terlan wines on this channel over the last couple years, and I'm particularly a fan of some of their higher-end wines, but they also have a very enjoyable, more entry-level wine called the Terlaner Cuvee. The 2023 vintage for this wine sells for an extremely reasonable $30 per bottle. This is a highly acclaimed wine that's around 60% Pinot Bianco, and it also includes 30% Chardonnay and 10% Sauvignon. This is a mineral-driven wine that includes flavors and aromas of green apple, lemon, mint, and peach. It has impressive acidity and freshness. Located in Pessac-Léognan, Domaine de Chevalier is classified in the Grave classification. Domaine de Chevalier has been on a roll lately, and it's been making exceptional wines since at least 2018. 2021 is the Domaine de Chevalier vintage that's on store shelves now, and while that vintage was a bit disappointing generally in Bordeaux, Domaine de Chevalier need not apologize for its bottling in that difficult year. The 2021 Domaine de Chevalier has impressive concentration for the vintage. It's a blend that consists of 80% Cabernet Sauvignon, 10% Merlot, and it also has smaller amounts of Petit Verdot and Cabernet Franc. This is a wine that has flavors and aromas that include mixed red, blue, and black fruit, as well as cedar and sage. There's ripe tannins, but this is a very structured wine, and one that's going to need about 5 or 6 more years in your cellar before you start digging in. While 2021 is on store shelves now and sells for right around $70 per bottle, you should definitely feel free to buy with confidence the vintages 2018 through 2020 as well. If you find yourself running low on wine cellar defenders after the holidays, I recently did a video in which I identified 13 of my favorite wine cellar defenders for all of 2024. If you're interested in watching that video, please check it out at the link above.